Well, we're here today. I'm Dwayne Bradshaw, your host, and we're here to talk about a new video that's coming out. It's called Randy Rhoads Reflections of a Guitar Icon from VMI Worldwide. It's scheduled for release on Friday, May 6th. And I'm here today talking with the director of the video, Relis, and Tracii Guns of LA Guns. How are you guys doing today?
I'm great.
All right. Well, I wanted to start out. How did you become involved with making the documentary film?
Yeah, I got involved. My company, we have a music division, and we've had this music division for 15, 16 years that dedicates itself to music documentaries, biopics, series, anything music related. And I was approached by a producer who did a documentary, Ron Sobel. He had done a documentary. He's actually featured in this on Randy Rhoads, the Quiet Riot years. And he never really released it. He never really released it other than some DVDs. And he wanted me to work on with him on it to some degree. So I ended up licensing a lot of that footage from it and just got obsessed with the story more and more. I read about Randy, and he was an icon from childhood. So I committed to it.
Great. I love the fact that you covered Randy's career from the days of Quiet Riot through, of course, the Blizzard of Oz and Ozzy Osbourne. I love the interview segment. You talked to a lot of different people that knew Randy throughout his career. I thought that was awesome.
Thank you.
Tracii, can you tell me how you became aware of the project, and how did you find out about Randy Rhoads?
Okay, well, the project, Andre had an agent contact me, and there's no way I was going to say no, right? But I first became aware of Randy in high school. I must have been 16 because I was driving, and a friend of mine came to school one morning and said, "Hey, I saw this guitarist last night that's going to be your favorite guitarist," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, who?" And he said, this guy Randy Rhoads, he was in Quiet Riot, and there used to be a big picture of Randy on the side of the Starwood, this club in LA. And he goes, the blonde guy in that picture? I go, "Oh yeah, okay, I know that picture." And he said he plays like this instead of up and down. He plays up and down the neck like you do. You're gonna love him. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And he said, oh, and he told me he was an Ozzy Osbourne solo band. And I didn't even know that Ozzy wasn't in Black Sabbath anymore. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I've always been like not aware of anything in my life. So anyways, I'm going surfing with my dad that weekend, and Crazy Train came on the radio. And I knew instantly, I go, oh my God, that must be the guy that my friend told me about, and sure enough, it was over. They said Ozzy Osbourne, Crazy Train, guitarist hero, Randy Rhoads. I was like, wow. And it changed my life. It really did. It's, from going from kind of like Jimmy Page and Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And more recently then, obviously Van Halen, but Randy really appealed to my musical sensibility. It's like really dark. And even within that, Crazy Train's almost a pop song, but there's something very dark about the music. And, I've been obsessed with Randy Rhoads since that day. Still, I'm 56 years old now.
So do you play Les Paul because of Randy?
Well, I originally played a Les Paul because of Jimmy Page.
Oh, okay.
And then, and oddly enough, I worked for that guitar for my dad for a year, and I happened to get a Les Paul custom like Randy's instead of a Sunburst like Jimmy Page's, because my dad said, well, you should be original. Don't get a guitar just like Jimmy Page's, then you'll be just like Jimmy Page. So I got this like natural colored Les Paul custom. And it just so happened that Randy played a cream light colored. And I was like, yes, I already have the guitar. So yeah. And when you're at that age, when I was in my mid-teens, late teens, everything was a sign. I was so superstitious, within the guitar ladder, like, what are the necessary tools to kind of get to the next level and keep going. And Randy was just kind of like this little, bag of good luck charms. I just always, to this day, when I record constantly, I'm still doing like 3 or 4 records a year. And I get to that point, it's like, well, what would Randy do here? I really do, just over and over and over again. So yeah, real good match for me.
Wow. Well, Andre, were you a Quiet Riot fan or Ozzy Osbourne fan growing up?
I was more of an Ozzy fan, and I was kind of a mix between punk rock and metal, which Ozzy Osbourne to me was like this metal god, growing up as a kid. And he was kind of a creepy figure because of, I remember growing up and reading about him biting the head off a bat. And it was just such a strange, dark rock and roll, heavy metal scene. But I was really into it, even when I was like 9 or 10, because, Quiet Riot, not so much until later on, but definitely Ozzy Osbourne and Randy Rhoads.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Tracii, did you ever get to see Randy perform?
I didn't. It was so crazy because when my friend told me about Randy, they had played the Forum in LA the night before, and that's where he saw him play.
Yeah.
So I believe that's the last time Randy ever played, in LA. So I had no chance.
You asked a question kind of like to Tracii as to his involvement. One thing is when I started researching a lot of research goes into making a documentary, tons of research and a lot of pulling interviews and material from years before and tribute concerts. And there was a lot of stuff that Tracii was involved with. And he seemed to always be performing tributes associated with Randy's legacy.
That's true.
And so, I saw that he listed him as a major influence. And, to me, Tracii was like the perfect person out there to be the spokesman for the documentary.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Tracii, you've done Randy Rhoads Remembered, if I'm correct.
Yeah, a couple times.
Wow. I also know that you've met Fred Bear.
Yes.
Can you give me the backstory on how you play the custom Strat that he owns?
Yeah, that's a wild story. And I think, I'm not sure, I think he had the SG too.
The white one, if I remember.
Yeah, he brought it over. What it was Billy Rowe, who plays guitar in Jet Boy, and he's now in Buck Cherry. He has a guitar company called Rock and Roll Relics. Okay. And he is always known forever that I'm a Randy Rhoads guy. And he got together and he hit me up and he said, hey, we're gonna maybe do reproductions of that Strat that Randy had in those pictures. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. He goes, do you want to play the Strat? I'm like, yeah, I want to play the Strat. So they brought that over and the SG, and I played it. They filmed me playing it, and I talked about Randy. I don't really remember because they never did anything with the footage or anything, but yeah, I played both those guitars and they were in my house. Wow. I was like these guitars are in my house, So, and it's funny because I am close to Kelly and Kathy Rhoads, and, so it's kind of like, 1 degree of separation. And I was in a band with Rudy Sarzo called Gunzo.
Oh yeah.
For a year, and, what an education. Wow. Just like, wow. A lot of wow moments.
Well, Andre, I've been asked quite a bit concerning the video. How does video on demand work? How's the video going to be available to the public?
Well, it's going to be released on all the digital platforms. From right now, you can pre-order it on iTunes. You can watch it on when it comes out on the 6th, which is what, this Friday,
Yeah,
I
this
believe
week.
so. Yeah.
you're going to be able to get it on all the digital platforms, from DirecTV to Vudu to Amazon, any of the platforms where you can rent a movie online. The only exception to that is that, oh God, one of the, I'm trying to remember which one it is. One of them doesn't release it to June, but, and I'll remember that as I'm talking to you. But On Demand doesn't release until first week of June. All the other digital platforms online, where you can rent movies, it'll be available for, and it is going to be released on DVD in September
Oh,
through
that's going to be
MVD.
awesome. That's
Oh,
gonna be
that's
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
Well, with the pandemic, we all know all the crazy things that have been happening. Can you tell me how that's affected you guys and what you do?
You want to
Um,
take that first, Andre?
Yeah, I'll take that first. It definitely affected a lot of in my life. Being that, I'm the owner of this company and none of my staff was coming into the office. And so it kind of, in fact, it led to me creating our own label, VMI Releasing, where we're releasing movies every month, including this one. It led to that, but at the same time, it led to a lot of cool productions. I just did this movie called The Last Son with Machine Gun Kelly, and that's a Western that just recently got released. And I did that during the pandemic. And so there was certain things that I wanted to get to that I was able to concentrate more on, get them done because of that.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems like really what it did for artistic people is it really allowed this amazing amount of free time to really dive into all kinds of stuff. I did more session work during the pandemic than I did in the previous 30 years of session work. Just and I had just moved to Denmark and we had a baby in February, or my wife had a baby in February. Thank you. 2020. So I just stayed here, in Denmark, and just started getting lots of requests just to, either play on complete albums for people or solos or co-writing. And I made, man, I had so many records during this time, and it was all done remotely. I never got together with any other musicians in person, just all remote recording, writing, and working and raising, my little guy. And then I also have, who's now 13, my other boy in LA. So, I was able to travel at, I guess in June of 2020, I finally got back to the States for a while and just continued that kind of thing, but no touring, no live performance, nothing, no rehearsals. So coming up now in June, LA Guns is doing its first tour in over 2 years. So it's 50 shows in 2 months. It's insane. So
Now, is that with Tom Kiefer and
It is.
Faster Pussycat?
It is.
Okay.
So that's a big tour, and I got to be in shape, and I'm 56.
Well, Andre, do you have any upcoming things that you want to let the audience know about?
Yeah, I want to work with Tracii on an LA Guns documentary. That's all I'd like to do. But my big next upcoming projects, in addition to trying to put that together, is a Jim Morrison project called Burn Down the Night. And it's a book that was written by a gentleman who co-wrote his book of poetry with him, called Craig Streti is the name of the author. He wrote a book called Burn Down the Night, which is supposed to be a true story about a night out with Jim Morrison right before he joined the Doors in 1965. It's incredible.
Wow.
Psychedelic experience. And
I'm into it.
Sounds like that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
But I wanted to say, just as far as this documentary is concerned, I wanted to say that one thing I really want people to take away from this documentary is a better understanding of Randy Rhoads' accomplishments.
Of course.
Like I feel like he's an enigma, almost like this immortal spirit that's sitting out there. And even as a musician, when I used to think about Randy Rhoads, it was like, wow, he was this mysterious character. Oh, and I think his story needs to be told, and I want people to come away with a better understanding of everything that he's accomplished and how he's influenced music today.
Thank you very much. As a Randy Rhoads fan, this is awesome. People like me have been waiting a long time to see something like this.
Thank you so
Great,
much.
great.
Well,
Me
I don't want
too.
to. Again, the video is called Randy Rhoads, Reflection of the Guitar Icon, and it's going to be released on Friday, May 6th. And I want to thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dwayne.
Thanks for having us, and thanks
That's
for
awesome.
being a big supporter of the legacy as well.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
man.
Tracii, good luck on your upcoming tour. And Andre, it's going to be great. I can't wait to see the movie.
Nice
All
meeting
right,
you.
man.
All right. Take care.
Talk soon.
All right.
Thanks, Dwayne. Bye.
Thank you.